Captain Daehyun stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the empty space ahead. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he didn't care. The Horizon's promise was 3 weeks into a boring survey mission, and nothing interesting had happened since they left Earth space. He was about to call it a day when the sensors started screaming. "Captain!" The young officer at the sensor station jumped from her seat. Something just appeared. It's massive. Really massive. Daehyun felt his heart speed up. In deep space, surprises were rarely good news. "Show me." The main screen flickered to life and Daehyun forgot how to breathe. The ship that had appeared was at least 50 times bigger than his own vessel. It looked like someone had carved it from a single piece of crystal. Light moved through its surface in waves of blue and purple. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen and also the most terrifying. "Red alert," Daehyun said quietly. "Get Dr. Park up here, now." Dr. Hana Park arrived on the bridge within minutes, still pulling on her jacket. She was the ship's chief scientist and she had studied alien life for 15 years. But when she saw the crystal ship on the screen, her mouth fell open. "Is that what I think it is?" she whispered. "Depends on what you're thinking," Daehyun replied. "If you're thinking we just met someone way more advanced than us, then yes." The communication system beeped. Someone was trying to talk to them. Daehyun took a deep breath and nodded to his crew. "Open the channel." A face appeared on the screen and Daehyun had to remind himself not to stare. The alien was tall and elegant, with skin that looked almost see-through. Colors moved under the surface like clouds in a fast-forward video. She wore no expression that Daehyun could recognize, but her voice was clear and surprisingly warm. "I am Queen Velrisa of the Arvenian Empire. I wish to speak with the leader of your vessel." Daehyun stepped forward. "I'm Captain Daehyun Kim. This is the Earthship Horizon's Promise. We come in peace." He felt stupid saying it, like something from an old movie, but what else was there to say? The Queen's skin shifted to a lighter blue. "Peace, yes, I am not here to fight, Captain. I am here to ask you something. Something very strange." Dr. Park leaned close to Daehyun. "This is weird. First contact protocols say they should be threatening us or trying to trade, not asking for favors." Daehyun ignored her. "What do you want to ask, Your Majesty?" "I want you to step into my world. For 7 days. You or one of your people." The Queen paused and her colors darkened. "Your species has something mine lost a very long time ago. I need to understand it before it is too late." The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at the screen. "What did we lose?" Daehyun asked carefully. "What do you think we have?" "I cannot tell you, not yet. If I tell you, you will not understand. You must experience it first. Will you accept my invitation, Captain?" Dr. Park grabbed Daehyun's arm. "Don't answer yet. We need to talk about this." Daehyun nodded at the screen. "Can you give us some time to discuss this, Your Majesty?" "Of course, but not too long. Time is something I have too much of and yet not enough." The Queen's image faded from the screen. The bridge exploded with noise. Everyone started talking at once. Daehyun held up his hand for silence. "Dr. Park, my ready room, now." Inside the small office, Dr. Park paced back and forth like a caged animal. "This is insane. We know nothing about these aliens. They could be lying. This could be a trap." "Could be," Daehyun agreed. He sat down and finally took a sip of his cold coffee. It tasted terrible. But what if it's not? Then it's still dangerous. What if they want to study us? What if they want to take one of us apart to see how we work? Dr. Park stopped pacing and looked at him. "Daehyun, you're thinking about going yourself, aren't you?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled up the scan data on his desk screen. "Look at this. Their ship uses technology we don't even have theories for. They appeared out of nowhere, which means they have faster-than-light travel that makes our drives look like bicycles. If they wanted to hurt us, we couldn't stop them." "That's not reassuring," Dr. Park muttered. "No, but it's honest." Daehyun stood up. "And here's another thing. She said before it's too late. That means something is wrong. Something that scares a queen who rules 47 star systems. I want to know what that is." Dr. Park sighed. "You're going to accept, aren't you? No matter what I say." "Yes, but I'm not going alone. I want you to pick 2 more people. Someone good with technology and someone who can talk to aliens without starting a war." "That's easy. Engineer Borisong for technology. She can figure out how anything works. And Lieutenant Taemin Cho for diplomacy. He's young, but he's smart and calm." Daehyun nodded. "Good choices. Get them ready." "We leave in 2 hours." 2 hours later, Daehyun stood in the transport bay with Bora and Taemin. Both of them looked nervous but excited. Daehyun understood. This was the kind of thing they had all dreamed about when they joined the space program. Meeting aliens, seeing new worlds, making history. Dr. Park was there too, holding a medical scanner. I still think this is a terrible idea. But if you're going, at least let me monitor your vital signs. If anything goes wrong, I want to know immediately. Nothing will go wrong, Daehyun said, trying to sound confident. Famous last words, Dr. Park muttered, but she helped them put on the monitoring devices anyway. A beam of light appeared in the center of the transport bay. It was beautiful, filled with colors that Daehyun didn't have names for. He felt a tingling sensation all over his body, like every atom was being gently pulled apart and put back together. Then the horizon's promise was gone. Daehyun stood in a completely different place. He was inside the crystal ship. The walls glowed with soft light. The floor felt solid under his feet, but he could see through it to more levels below. Everything was beautiful and strange and completely alien. Queen Velrisa stood before them. Up close, she was even more impressive. She was at least 7 feet tall, and her skin shimmered with colors that changed every second. Behind her stood dozens of other Arvenians, all watching the humans with what might have been curiosity. "Welcome to Crystalis Prime," the Queen said. "Welcome to my world. Are you ready to understand what your species has that mine lost?" Daehyun looked at Bora and Taemin. Both of them nodded. He turned back to the Queen. "We're ready." "Good." The Queen's colors shifted to deep purple. "Then let me tell you about the most terrible thing that can happen to a species. Let me tell you about immortality." The throne room was made entirely of crystal, but it didn't feel cold. Light moved through the walls like water, creating patterns that never repeated. Daehyun tried not to stare, but it was impossible. Everything about this place was designed to amaze. Queen Velrisa sat on a throne that seemed to grow from the floor itself. Around her stood several other Arvenians. One of them stepped forward. His colors were darker than the Queen's, more serious. "I am High Chancellor Renthor," he said. His voice was cold. "I opposed bringing you here. I still believe it is a mistake." "Noted," Daehyun replied carefully. He was starting to understand that color changes meant something to these aliens. Darker colors seemed to mean negative emotions. The Queen raised one hand and Renthor stepped back. "Forgive my Chancellor. He worries because he cares." She looked directly at Daehyun. "But his worry is too late. We are already dying. We have been dying for thousands of years. We just didn't notice until recently." Engineer Bora couldn't help herself. "But you look healthy. Your technology is amazing. Your ship alone is centuries ahead of ours. How can you be dying?" "Because we are too perfect," the Queen said simply. "Let me show you something." She gestured and the walls changed. Images appeared floating in the air. Daehyun saw Arvenian cities, beautiful and vast. He saw their ships traveling between stars. He saw art and architecture and technology beyond imagination. "This is what we built over 10,000 years," the Queen said. "We conquered death. We perfected our technology. We eliminated all suffering. We became immortal." "That sounds wonderful," Lieutenant Taemin said quietly. "It sounds wonderful," the Queen agreed. "But look closer." The images changed. Daehyun frowned. The cities looked the same in every picture. The ships were identical. Even the art looked copied, like someone was making the same thing over and over. "These images are from different centuries," the Queen explained. "Can you tell which is which?" Daehyun studied them carefully. He couldn't. Everything looked exactly the same. "No, I can't tell the difference." "Exactly. Because nothing changes. Nothing new is created. We lost something when we became immortal. We lost the ability to imagine, to dream, to create anything that didn't exist before." The Queen's colors dimmed to almost gray. "We can maintain what we have. We can copy what we made long ago. But we cannot make anything new." The room was silent. Daehyun felt a chill run down his spine. An entire civilization frozen in time, living forever but not really living at all. How is that possible? Bora asked. "Creativity isn't something you can lose like a tool." "We thought the same thing," Renthor said. His voice was bitter. "But we were wrong. When you live forever, you lose urgency. When you have infinite time, nothing seems important. When you never feel pain or fear or hunger, you forget why anything matters." "We don't even dream anymore," the Queen added. When we sleep, there is only emptiness, no images. No stories, nothing. Dae-hyun thought about his own dreams. The strange stories his mind told while he slept. The ideas that came to him in the middle of the night. The fear and excitement that drove him to explore space in the first place. Could he really lose all of that? So you want us to teach you how to imagine again? Taemin asked. No. The queen stood up from her throne. She was even taller than Dae-hyun had thought, nearly 8 feet. I don't want lessons. I want experience. I want to feel what you feel. I want to be what you are. I don't understand, Dae-hyun said. Come with me. The queen walked toward a door that opened silently at her approach. The humans followed her through corridors of crystal until they reached a large laboratory. Inside, something waited that made Dae-hyun's stomach turn. It was a human body. Unconscious, lying in a tube filled with clear liquid. It looked exactly like Dae-hyun himself. What is that? Dae-hyun whispered, though he already knew. A clone, the queen said, made from your genetic material. We took a small sample when we first scanned your ship. It has been growing for several weeks. Bora stepped forward, her face angry. You cloned him without permission. That's illegal. That's wrong. I know, the queen said, and I apologize. But I was desperate. This is what I want, Captain Dae-hyun. I want to put my consciousness into this body. I want to be human for 7 days. I want to feel what it's like to be mortal. The room exploded with noise. Bora started yelling about ethics. Taemin was asking questions about the technology. Renthor was arguing with other Arvenians in their own language. But Dae-hyun just stared at his own face in the tube, trying to process what he had just heard. Finally, he held up his hand. Everyone went quiet. Why? He asked the queen. Why do you think being human will help? Because you still create, the queen said. You still dream. You still make new things, have new ideas, feel passion and fear and hope. Everything we lost you still have. And I believe it's because you're mortal. Because you know your time is limited. She moved closer to the tube. I have lived for 4,000 years, Captain. I have seen galaxies born and stars die. I have ruled an empire that spans half this sector of space. But I have not felt truly alive in millennia. I want to know what it's like before it's too late. Before my species forgets completely what it means to exist. Dae-hyun looked at his crew. Bora was still angry but also fascinated. Taemin looked worried but thoughtful. Can we talk privately? He asked them. The queen led them to a smaller room. Once they were alone, Bora started pacing. This is insane. She wants to put an alien mind into a human body. What if something goes wrong? What if she gets stuck? What if she dies? What if it works? Taemin countered. Think about what this means. An entire civilization is dying, not from war or disease, but from losing their reason to live. If we can help them, shouldn't we try? It's my face, Dae-hyun said quietly. Both of them turned to look at him. It's my DNA. If anyone should decide this, it's me. What are you thinking? Bora asked. Dae-hyun thought about it. An immortal queen wanted to be human. She wanted to understand what made humans special. But being human wasn't just about biology. It was about struggle. About working for things. About earning every victory and learning from every defeat. I'll agree, he said finally. But on one condition. They returned to the laboratory. The queen was waiting, her colors shifting with anxiety. Have you decided? Yes, Dae-hyun said. You can do this. You can be human for 7 days. But not as a queen. If you want to understand us, you have to live like us. You'll work on my ship. You'll follow orders. You'll do normal, boring jobs. You'll eat our food, sleep in our beds, and deal with our problems. No special treatment, no royal privileges. Just 7 days as a regular person. The queen stared at him. Then slowly, her colors shifted to bright gold. You want me to be ordinary? I want you to be human, Dae-hyun replied. And humans are ordinary. That's the whole point. The queen looked at Renthor. The High Chancellor's colors were dark with anger. This is foolishness. You cannot agree to this. If something happens to you, the Empire will collapse. The Empire is already collapsing, the queen said softly. We just haven't admitted it yet. We're maintaining structures that have no life in them. We're following rules that have no purpose. We're existing, Renthor, but we're not living. She turned back to Dae-hyun. I accept your condition, Captain. Make me ordinary. Make me human. Show me what it means to truly be alive. The consciousness transfer took 3 hours. Dae-hyun watched the whole process through the laboratory window. Arvinian scientists moved around the clone body, attaching devices and checking readings. The Queen stood in a circle of light, her crystalline form gradually fading as her consciousness was copied and transferred. When it was over, the clone's eyes opened. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the body tried to sit up and immediately fell off the medical table. Dae-hyun rushed into the room. The Queen, now in a human body, was lying on the floor. She was breathing hard, her eyes wide with shock. "Everything hurts," she gasped. "Why does everything hurt?" Dr. Min-ji-yoon, the ship's doctor who had come along for the transfer, knelt beside her. "That's called being alive. Your nervous system is working. Every sensation is new to you." "Make it stop," the Queen begged. "It doesn't stop," Dr. Yoon said gently. "You learn to live with it. Come on, let's get you up." It took 20 minutes to teach the Queen how to stand without falling. Her crystalline body had moved through pure thought. This human body required balance, muscle control, and constant attention. By the time they got her back to the Horizon's Promise, she was exhausted. "Welcome aboard," Dae-hyun said. "Your quarters are on Deck 3. You'll be working with Ji-woo in the maintenance department starting tomorrow morning." "Who is Ji-woo?" the Queen asked. Her voice sounded strange in human vocal cords. "A maintenance technician. Good worker. He'll teach you the basics." Dae-hyun smiled. "Get some rest. You look tired." "I've never been tired before," the Queen said. "I don't like it." "You'll get used to it," Dae-hyun lied. Nobody ever really got used to being tired. The first day was a disaster. Ji-woo was a friendly young man with an easy smile, but even his patience was tested. The Queen couldn't hold tools properly. She didn't understand basic instructions. She burned herself on a hot pipe and started crying uncontrollably. "I've never felt pain before," she sobbed, looking at the red mark on her hand. "Not in 4,000 years. Ji-woo didn't know she was a queen from another species. He just thought she was a very sheltered civilian volunteer. He put a bandage on her burn and patted her shoulder awkwardly. "It's okay. Everyone burns themselves at first. You'll learn to be more careful." That night, the Queen came to Dae-hyun's quarters. She looked terrible. Her eyes were red from crying, her hair was messy, and she moved like every muscle ached. "I want to quit," she said. "No," Dae-hyun replied. "You asked for 7 days. It's been one, but it hurts. Everything hurts. My body, my mind. Even my emotions hurt. How do you live like this?" "We don't have a choice," Dae-hyun said. "But here's the thing. Pain means you're alive. It means things matter. If nothing hurt, nothing would feel good either." The Queen looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded and left without another word. Day 2 was better, but only slightly. The Queen discovered hunger. She'd never needed to eat before, and the sensation was terrifying. Her stomach felt empty and wrong. Ji-woo took her to the cafeteria. The food was standard ship rations. Synthetic protein paste with artificial flavoring. The Queen took one bite and made a face. "This is horrible." "Yeah, it's pretty bad," Ji-woo agreed. "But it's what we've got." He looked around, then leaned closer. "Unless you want something better. I've got a secret stash." He led her to his quarters and pulled out a small container from under his bunk. Inside was homemade kimchi. "My grandmother's recipe," he said proudly. "I make a new batch every month." The Queen tried a small amount. The explosion of flavor, the combination of spicy and sour and complex taste overwhelmed her completely. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they weren't tears of pain. "This is beautiful," she whispered. "This is art," Ji-woo laughed. "It's just kimchi. But yeah, it's pretty good." He gave her the whole container. "You look like you need it more than me." Day 3 brought a different kind of pain. Engineer Bora was inspecting their work and found mistakes. She criticized the Queen's repairs sharply. "This is sloppy work," Bora said. "You need to redo all of it." The Queen felt something she hadn't experienced in millennia. Shame, embarrassment, the feeling of being inadequate. In her crystalline form, she had been perfect. She had ruled with absolute authority. Nobody had ever criticized her. "I tried my best," she said quietly. "Then your best isn't good enough yet," Bora replied. "That's why we practice. Now redo it." That night, the Queen stayed late. She worked until her hands were sore and her eyes could barely focus. But when she was done, the repairs were perfect. She felt something new. Pride. Not the empty pride of being superior, but the real pride of earning something through effort. Day 4 changed everything. Ji-woo brought an old guitar to work. During their break, he played simple songs, Korean folk music, old and familiar. The notes weren't perfect. His fingers sometimes hit wrong strings. But the music was filled with emotion. The Queen sat and listened. Arvenian music was mathematically perfect, every note precisely calculated. But this music was messy and alive. It made her chest ache in a way she didn't understand. "Why does it hurt?" she asked. "The music is beautiful, but it makes me sad." Jiwoo smiled. "That's what good music does. It makes you feel things. Sometimes happy, sometimes sad, sometimes both at once." Day 5 brought real danger. A plasma conduit ruptured during routine maintenance. Jiwoo saw it first and grabbed the Queen, pulling her away from the burst of energy. They both fell to the floor as the conduit exploded behind them. The Queen's heart was pounding. Her hands were shaking. Her mind was screaming danger, run, hide, survive. This was fear. Real primal overwhelming fear. "You okay?" Jiwoo asked, helping her up. She couldn't speak. She just nodded. But inside something had changed. She had faced death. She had survived. And somehow that made life feel more real than anything she'd experienced in 4,000 years. Day 6 was quieter. Young-soo, the human artist who had been living with the Arvenians, came to visit the ship. He brought clay and a pottery wheel. He wanted to show the Queen something. "Try making something," he said simply. The Queen sat at the wheel. Her hands were clumsy. The clay kept collapsing. She failed again and again. But Young-soo was patient. He showed her how to center the clay, how to shape it gently, how to let it become what it wanted to be. After 2 hours, she had made a small, lopsided bowl. It was ugly. It was imperfect. It was the most beautiful thing she had ever created. "I made this," she said, holding it up. Her voice was filled with wonder. "With my own hands. From nothing." Young-soo smiled. "That's what it means to be human. We make things, not because they're perfect, but because they're ours." Day 7 arrived too quickly. Captain Dae-hyun found the Queen sitting alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars. She was crying again, but this time it was different. "Your time is up," he said gently. "You need to go back to your real body." "I don't want to," she said. "In 7 days I've felt more than in 4,000 years. I've been hungry and tired and scared and proud and alive. How can I go back to being empty?" "Because your people need you," Dae-hyun said. "And because now you know what they're missing. You can help them find it again." The Queen looked at him. "What if I stayed? What if I just lived as a human?" Dr. Yoon's voice came over the comm system. "Captain, we have a problem. The human body is starting to reject the alien consciousness. If she doesn't transfer back soon, both bodies will die. She has less than an hour." The Queen closed her eyes. The choice was being made for her. But she had learned something in 7 days. She had learned that mortality wasn't a curse. It was a gift. And now she had to figure out how to give that gift to her people. The Arvenian flagship appeared beside the Horizon's Promise like a ghost materializing from nothing. High Chancellor Renthor's face filled the communication screen, his colors dark with anger. "Return our Queen immediately," he demanded. "The experiment is over." Dae-hyun stood firm. "She still has 30 minutes. We agreed on 7 full days. The agreement was made before we understood the danger." Renthor's form shifted, becoming sharper, more aggressive. "Her body is dying. Both of them. We are taking her back now." Behind Renthor, dozens of Arvenian warships began appearing. They surrounded the human vessel completely. The weapon systems on the alien ships began powering up, creating a glow that lit up the darkness of space. In the medical bay, the Queen sat on the edge of a bed. She was holding the lopsided bowl she had made, turning it over in her hands. Tears ran down her face, but she was smiling. "I understand now," she said quietly. "I understand everything." Dr. Yoon checked the monitors. "You need to make a choice. Transfer back now, or both bodies die. You have maybe 20 minutes. What happens if I stay?" The Queen asked. "You'll die. As a human. In less than an hour." Dr. Yoon's voice was gentle but firm. "Your original body will also die. Your empire will have no ruler. And if I go back, you'll live forever again. You'll rule your people, but you'll return to that empty existence you described." The Queen laughed, but it sounded more like a sob. "Some choice. Live for an hour as something real, or exist forever as something hollow." Lieutenant Tae-min rushed into the medical bay. "Captain wants you on the bridge, now. Things are getting serious." The Queen stood up, still clutching her bowl. "I should talk to Renthor." This is my decision, not yours. On the bridge, the situation had gotten worse. More Arvenian ships had arrived. They formed a wall of crystal and light around the small human vessel. But something strange was happening. Some of the Arvenian ships were arguing with each other. "What's going on?" Daehyun asked. Bora looked up from her console. "They're fighting. Not with weapons, but with words. Some of them want to take the Queen back by force. Others are saying we should wait. They've been watching everything through the monitoring equipment. They saw what happened to her." The Queen stepped onto the bridge. Everyone turned to look at her. She looked small and tired and completely human. Daehyun opened a channel to all the Arvenian ships. "This is Queen Velrisa," she said. Her voice was hoarse from 7 days of human use. "I know you're worried. I know you think I've made a mistake. But I need to tell you what I learned." Renthor's face appeared on the main screen. "Your Majesty, please, come back to us. We can discuss this after you're safe." "No, Renthor, you need to hear this now." The Queen held up her bowl. "Do you see this? It's ugly. It's imperfect. I made it with my own hands after failing dozens of times, and it's the most important thing I've created in 4,000 years." She turned to face all the cameras, all the ships, all her people watching. "For 7 days I was human. I felt pain. I knew hunger. I experienced fear. I worked until my body ached. I failed at simple tasks. I was criticized and corrected. And through all of that I was more alive than I've been in millennia." "That's because you were mortal," Renthor said. "You knew your time was limited. But you can't stay mortal. You're our queen, I know. And I've made my choice. I'm going back to my real body." The Queen paused. "But I'm not going back alone. And I'm not going back to the old way." She looked at Daehyun. "You asked me what I learned? I learned that perfection is death. I learned that struggling is living. I learned that we lost our creativity when we lost our mortality. But here's what you need to understand. I don't need to stay mortal forever. I just need to remember what it feels like." Taemin stepped forward. "You want others to experience it too, don't you?" "Yeah," the Queen's voice grew stronger. "I'm proposing something new. A protocol. Every Arvenian who wants to, from the lowest citizen to the highest official, can undergo what I did. 7 days as a mortal. 7 days to remember what existence truly means." The communication channels exploded with noise. Hundreds of Arvenian voices arguing at once. Some called it madness. Others called it salvation. Renthor's face went through a dozen different colors. "This will destabilize everything," he said. "Our society is built on order, on perfection. If everyone starts changing, starts questioning, starts creating new things, we'll have chaos." "We already have chaos," the Queen replied. "We just call it order. A civilization that cannot change is already dead. We're like a perfect crystal statue, Renthor. Beautiful and lifeless. I would rather have messy, imperfect life than perfect death." One of the Arvenian ship captains spoke up. "Your Majesty, I watched your experience through the monitoring systems. I saw you cry from pain. I saw you struggle with simple tasks. Why would we choose to experience that?" "Because pain means you're alive," the Queen said. "Because struggling teaches you what you're capable of. Because failure gives value to success. Because limitation creates urgency and urgency creates meaning." She held up her bowl again. "I could have made a perfect bowl with my crystalline form. It would have taken seconds. It would have been flawless. It would have meant nothing. This ugly bowl took me hours. I failed over and over. My hands hurt. I wanted to quit. But when I finally made it, I felt something I haven't felt in millennia. Pride. Real pride. The kind that comes from earning something, not just having it." Dr. Yoon's voice came over the comm. "Your Majesty, you have 10 minutes. After that, we can't guarantee a safe transfer." The Queen nodded. "I'm coming." She looked at Renthor one last time. "I'm going back to my body. I'm going back to being your queen. But I'm bringing this memory with me, and I'm offering it to anyone who wants it. Call it the Mortality Protocol. 7 days to remember what it means to be finite. 7 days to understand that life without death has no meaning." Renthor was silent for a long moment. His colors shifted through every shade from dark purple to pale blue. Finally, he spoke. "If you truly believe this is necessary, I will not oppose you. But I have one condition." "What condition?" "I go first. After you, I will be the first to undergo this protocol." Renthor's colors settled into a determined gold. "If my queen can endure mortality, then so can I. And if I can endure it, then I can ask it of our people." The Queen's human face broke into a smile. "Thank you, old friend." The transfer back was faster than the first one. The Queen closed her eyes in the human body and opened them in her crystalline form. The change was immediate and terrible. She could suddenly see in 1,000 directions at once. She could process information at incredible speeds. She could feel the perfect harmony of her immortal body. And she hated it. It felt empty, cold, like being wrapped in ice after experiencing fire. But she carried the memory with her. The memory of pain and hunger and fear and pride and love. She would never forget it, and she would make sure her people never forgot it either. 3 days later, High Chancellor Renthor stood in the same medical bay. A human clone waited for him, grown from genetic material provided by volunteers. He looked at it with what might have been fear. "I've existed for 7,000 years, he said to Daehyun. "I've never been afraid of anything, but I'm afraid of this." "Good," Daehyun replied with a smile. "That means you're already learning. Fear is the first lesson of mortality." The transfer began, and Captain Daehyun watched as one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy became, for 7 days, beautifully and perfectly ordinary. 5 years had passed since that first strange meeting. Admiral Daehyun Kim stood in the observation deck of the new embassy station, watching ships come and go. Human vessels and Arvenian ships moving together through space like a carefully choreographed dance. It still amazed him every time he saw it. The mortality protocol had changed everything. In 5 years, over 2 million Arvenians had undergone the 7-day experience. Each one returned to their crystalline form, changed in ways both small and profound. The empire that had been frozen for 10,000 years was finally moving again. Admiral Kim, a young ensign, rushed up to him. "Queen Velrisa is here for the ceremony. She's asking for you." Daehyun smiled. "Tell her I'll be right there." He found the Queen in the main hall. She was in her crystalline form today, tall and elegant and shimmering with colors. But something about her was different from other Arvenians. She moved with more purpose. Her colors shifted with more emotion. She was still immortal, but she was no longer empty. "Daehyun," she said warmly. The Arvenians had started using first names after learning it from humans. "I wanted to see you before the dedication begins. How are you feeling?" He asked. "Alive," she said simply. "I alternate between forms now. 1 month crystalline, 1 month human. It's not easy, but it keeps me connected to both sides of existence." "That must be difficult." "It is. Every time I transfer back to being human, I have to remember how to feel pain again. But every time I return to my crystalline form, I carry those memories with me. It reminds me why we're doing this." They walked together through the station. The walls were decorated with a mixture of human and Arvenian art. Paintings and sculptures from both species, celebrating both perfection and imperfection. It was beautiful in a way that neither culture could have achieved alone. "How's the resistance movement?" Daehyun asked carefully. The Queen's colors darkened slightly. "The eternal purists are still active. They believe we're corrupting ourselves by embracing mortality. Last month they tried to shut down one of the transfer facilities." "Did anyone get hurt?" "No, Renthor negotiated with them. He's become quite good at talking to those who resist change. I think his own experience with mortality taught him patience." They arrived at a large auditorium where the dedication ceremony would take place. The room was already filling with people. Humans and Arvenians sitting together, talking and laughing. 5 years ago, this would have been impossible. Now it was normal. Dr. Hannah Park found them in the crowd. She was now the head of xenocultural studies and had written 3 books about the Arvenian transformation. "Admiral, Your Majesty, we're almost ready to begin. Any last-minute problems?" Daehyun asked. "Just one. We have more attendees than expected. The fire marshal is having a fit." Dr. Park grinned. "Apparently, successful cultural exchanges are a safety hazard." The ceremony began with speeches from both human and Arvenian leaders. They talked about cooperation and understanding, about the importance of learning from each other, about building a future together. Then it was Daehyun's turn. He stood at the podium and looked out at the mixed crowd. Humans who had learned to appreciate alien perfection, Arvenians who had learned to embrace human imperfection. 5 years ago, he began, a queen asked me to step into her world. I thought she wanted to understand humanity, but what she really wanted was to remember something her people had forgotten, that life without limits has no meaning, that perfection without struggle is just emptiness, that immortality without mortality is just endless waiting. He paused and looked at Queen Velrisa. But here's what I learned. Humans needed this exchange as much as Arvenians did. We thought our struggles made us weak. We envied species that had conquered death and achieved perfection. We didn't understand that our limitations were our strength. So today we dedicate this Cultural Exchange Institute not just to teaching Arvenians about mortality, but to teaching humans about ourselves, to helping both our species understand that we're stronger together than apart. The crowd applauded. Then Youngsu, the human artist, came to the stage. Behind him, a large object was covered with a cloth. He smiled at the crowd. I was kidnapped by aliens 5 years ago, he said. Best thing that ever happened to me. The crowd laughed. They wanted to understand human creativity. I tried to teach them, but I couldn't. Not until Queen Velrisa became human for 7 days. Not until she learned that creativity comes from struggle. He pulled away the cloth. Underneath was a sculpture made of both crystal and clay. The crystal part was perfect, geometrically precise, mathematically beautiful. The clay part was rough and organic and imperfect. Together they created something neither material could achieve alone. This was made by both human and Arvenian artists working together. Youngsu explained. It's not perfect. It's not supposed to be. It's real. It's alive. It's ours. The applause was thunderous. Daehyun watched as both humans and Arvenians approached the sculpture, touching it, admiring it, understanding it in their own ways. Later that evening, Daehyun found himself in a quiet corner with old friends. Engineer Bora was there, now chief of the Technological Exchange Program. Lieutenant Taimin had become a full ambassador. Dr. Yoon was head of the medical division. Jiwoo, the maintenance technician who had befriended a queen without knowing it, was now training new Arvenian volunteers. Remember when this all started? Bora said. We thought we were just meeting some aliens. We had no idea we'd end up changing an entire civilization. We didn't change them, Taimin corrected. We reminded them of something they already knew. There's a difference, Jiwoo laughed. I still can't believe I taught a queen how to fix plasma conduits. My grandmother would never believe it. Speaking of teaching, Dr. Yoon said, how's your class going, Jiwoo? Good. I've got 20 young Arvenians learning basic maintenance. They're terrible at it, but they're learning. One of them asked me yesterday why we have to learn the hard way when they could just calculate the solution. What did you tell them? Daehyun asked. Jiwoo smiled. I told them the hard way teaches you something the easy way never can. That you're capable of more than you think. Same thing my teacher told me when I was starting out. The party continued late into the night. Humans and Arvenians mixing freely, sharing stories and food and laughter. At one point, someone started playing music. Human guitars and Arvenian crystal instruments creating harmony from difference. Daehyun found Queen Velrisa standing alone on a balcony, looking out at the stars. He joined her in comfortable silence. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Taking that risk 5 years ago? Never, she said immediately. I only regret waiting 4,000 years to do it. My people were dying, Daehyun. We just didn't know it because we couldn't die. You gave us back our future by reminding us that futures end. Not bad for a random survey mission, Daehyun said with a smile. The queen laughed. It was a sound she had learned in her human form and never stopped making. The universe has a sense of humor, I think, sending humans to teach immortals about life. They stood together, watching ships move through space, human vessels with their patched hulls and recycled parts, Arvenian ships with their crystal perfection and dimensional drives. Different but working together. Imperfect but beautiful. You know what the best part is? The queen said. The purists were right about one thing. We are corrupting ourselves. We're learning to be imperfect. We're learning to fail. We're learning to struggle. And it's wonderful. Humanity, yeah, Daehyun murmured. What was that? It's an old phrase. It means humans are fragile and foolish and finite. And somehow that makes us magnificent. The queen considered this. Her color shifted through dozens of shades as she thought. Then perhaps we need a new phrase. Mortality, yeah, because death gives meaning to life. Endings give value to moments. Imperfection gives room for growth. Mortality, yeah, Daehyun repeated. I like that. They raised their glasses and toasted. An immortal queen and immortal admiral. Two species that had learned from each other. Two cultures that had found strength in their differences. Behind them, the party continued. Music and laughter filled the air. Humans teaching Arvenians the joy of imperfection. Arvenians teaching humans the beauty of purpose. Together, creating something neither could achieve alone. The Arvenian Empire was no longer frozen in time. It was growing, changing, evolving. Art galleries appeared on crystalline towers. Festivals celebrated failure as much as success. Research facilities welcomed mistakes as opportunities to learn. And in a small workshop on Crystallis Prime, an Arvenian artist worked on a pottery wheel. Her hands were clumsy. The clay kept collapsing. She had failed 17 times already. But she kept trying, kept learning, kept growing, because that's what life was. Not perfection. Not immortality. Not endless existence without change. Life was struggle and growth and the constant effort to become something more than you were. The Arvenians had forgotten that for 10,000 years. But they remembered now, and they would never forget again. The stars above continued their ancient dance, unchanging yet always moving, eternal yet constantly dying and being reborn, perfect in their imperfection, infinite in their finitude, and somewhere between those stars, two species learned to live together. One teaching the other about mortality,